So, and if at any time you have a question, just you know, you don't have to wait till the end. Just interrupt and break right in. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of an idea of how fast things happen. That things don't happen as easily as you might be led to believe. That this is a concerted, focused effort usually, especially if they're high-profile targets inside the Pentagon. Inside some defense contractor. There may be an insider. There was an insider attack recently, 3 or 4 years ago, against one of the leading defense contractors, where there was a Chinese national who came here for his PhD, stayed, got citizenship, and worked from inside the defense industry, and because he was talented, managed to go to all the major defense contractors and do this cyber espionage where he sent that stuff back to China over the internet. So much so that it's estimated that because of this one insider, the losses are somewhere in the trillions of dollars. Now what that translates to, for example, if you've ever seen our Navy's Aegis cruisers and look at a Chinese Aegis cruiser, they look identical. To build an Aegis cruiser involves thousands of subcontractors, engineers of all types, and scientists. In order for them to copy that, the amount of espionage and effort that goes into that can only be undertaken by a nation state. It's not something that you know, a group of script kiddies are going to do. So it's a nation state with a lot of money behind it. So, excuse me, script kiddies, is that what you?
Spectre.
Forget it. The missile cruiser is one example. Another one is the F-22, the recent fighter that the Chinese have made operational is practically a duplicate. Incidentally, people who have seen the inside of the Chinese Aegis type cruiser claim that it's a copy right down to where the no smoking signs are. They just didn't bother to think about anything, just take the blueprints and build it exactly as the Americans had researched it. And this saves decades and billions of dollars of research and testing and development. So it's a serious problem. It's a serious problem. Okay. Cybercrime. So here is where it's less of a nation state and more organized crime. So it's the FBI and the Department of Justice believe that the largest computer network that's on the planet is controlled by the Russian mafia these days. And that's because they not only have their own computers, but they have your computers that they've subverted. And what that means is that they have control of your machines and control them remotely. So if they want to launch an attack against Citibank or against some other financial institution, they do it through your computer. So how is it that machines get subverted to that extent where they become almost like zombies? And this is where it gets a little technical. If I confuse you in any way, just speak up and I'll try to clarify it. So machines, by machines, when I say machines, I usually mean computers, operate usually in two states. Master or slave. That's at the very fundamental. In master mode, any instruction that the machine has at its disposal is permitted. In slave mode, only a subset of those instructions are permitted. In fact, early on, before the public was aware of machines to the extent that they are now, you would very often get illegal operation. And people thought that meant that you broke some sort of law or something. But all that meant was that the machine was told to execute an instruction that was only legal or permitted in master mode, and it was told to execute it in slave mode. So, master, slave. What the bad guys want to do is get control, to get some of their program to execute in master mode. And that's their whole focus. Once that happens, even if it happens for a few hundredths of a second, it's enough to completely subvert that machine and take control of it. It doesn't take very long. So the way in which it typically happens is that machines such as your home computer might be running some version of Windows. When you go to upgrade or update that machine, Microsoft will download some stuff to your machine and says we're ready to install patches and upgrade. Well, what that means is that it has a mechanism whereby computer programs or code is put into the part of memory that will execute that code in master mode. So there's a way to do that. And it's done to upgrade your machine. The bad guys use that mechanism to get malware in there. And once the malware is in there, nothing is protected. So what that means is if for example, you have files that you protect by saying read only, that protection is there because the operating system, Windows, if you're running Windows, or Linux or Unix, depending upon what OS you're running, will not allow another program to write to that file. But the subversion takes over the machine and supersedes even the operating system. So it doesn't matter if you write protect a file. The malware can still write to it because everything just fades away, including files that the operating system itself has. So if I wanted to permanently subvert your machine, once I got this little bit of malware running, I could then take a small piece of code and modify those files that constitute the operating system so that when you unplug your machine, remove power, and plug it back in, it comes up, it reads those programs from the disk, but I've already corrupted those programs on the disk, so I'm back alive again. So you can't get rid of it by just unplugging or stopping and restarting, because the corruption, the cancer, has been placed onto the information that the machine uses to provide you the basic services, the operating system. So that's one way in which this malware remains permanent. Another way is by corrupting what's called the master boot record. Now, when machines, if you stop to think about it, and they can fool you because they look very elaborate when you interact with them. They're just wires, capacitors, transistors are really dumb things. They're put together to make you believe that there's some intelligence behind all this stuff, but it's all dumb stuff. There's nothing living. Everything is dead in a machine. However, when you first apply power, it's wired such that it goes to a particular place on the disk and finds a little bit of a program, typically called the boot reloader, that starts the ball rolling. A particularly insidious corruption is to corrupt that small piece of code that the machine uses just to start.